Kira's voice echoed through the observatory dome as she pointed to the ancient star chart projected above her students. The holographic display showed constellation patterns that her ancestors had mapped 3,000 years ago. 20 young Velasi sat in a circle, their scales shifting through shades of blue and green as they absorbed the lesson. "Notice how our ancestors believed the stars were fixed," Kira said, her tail swishing with enthusiasm. "They didn't know that everything in the universe moves. They thought we were the center of all creation." A student raised her hand. "Teacher Kira, do you think we're alone out there?" Kira smiled, her scales flickering with yellow warmth. "That's a question I ask myself every—" The lights went out, every hologram vanished. The gentle hum of the observatory's power systems died into silence. Kira froze mid-sentence, her hand still pointing at nothing. Through the transparent dome above, the afternoon sky of Velas Prime suddenly darkened. "Teacher?" a student whispered. "What's happening?" Kira looked up. Her breath caught in her throat. Something massive was blocking out the sun. A shadow spread across the city below like a giant hand covering their world. The shape was wrong, too angular, too deliberate to be a natural phenomenon. "Everyone stay calm," Kira said, though her own scales had turned pale gray with fear. "Move to the lower levels now." The students scrambled toward the stairs. Kira remained frozen, staring upward. The shadow had defined edges now. It was a ship. An impossibly large ship. Nothing in Velasi history had prepared them for something like this. Her communication device should have been buzzing with emergency alerts. Instead, it was dead. Whatever had arrived had somehow cut off all their technology in an instant. Kira ran to the observatory's emergency radio, an old analog system her predecessor had insisted on keeping. She cranked the manual power generator and heard static burst through the speakers. "All citizens remain in your homes." A panicked voice broke through. "Unknown vessel in orbit. Military command has lost contact with all satellites." The voice cut off. Kira cranked the generator harder, but only silence came back. In the city below, sirens began to wail. Kira watched through the dome as people poured into the streets, looking up at the sky. Some were running. Others stood paralyzed, just as she had been moments ago. The ship hung in orbit like a predator studying its prey. Kira had spent her entire life studying the stars, dreaming of what might exist beyond their world. She had imagined this moment countless times, the moment when they would learn they weren't alone in the universe. She had never imagined it would feel like this. Like terror, her scales shifted to dark purple, the color of deep fear. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, to get as far from the observatory's exposed position as possible. But her legs wouldn't move. She was a scholar. This was a moment of first contact. Shouldn't she be taking notes? Recording observations? The ship began to move. It rotated slowly, revealing more of its structure. The design was brutal and efficient. Gun ports lined its hull. Armor plating covered every surface. This wasn't an exploration vessel. This was a warship. Kira finally found the strength to move. She stumbled down the stairs, her claws clicking against the stone steps. Outside, the streets were chaos. Velasi crashed into each other as they ran in different directions. No one knew where to go. No one knew what to do. "Kira!" a familiar voice called out. She turned to see her colleague Thren pushing through the crowd. His scales were bright red with agitation. "The council is meeting at the central chamber. They're asking for anyone with astronomical knowledge. What do they think I can tell them?" Kira asked. "I study old star charts. I'm not a military analyst." "No one is," Thren said. "We've never needed military analysts. We've been alone for our entire history." He was right. The Velasi had no warships, no weapons beyond basic police equipment. They had no protocols for this. Their entire civilization had been built on the assumption that they were the only intelligent life in existence. That assumption had just been shattered. Kira and Thren made their way to the council chamber. Inside, the 5 council members sat at their curved table, looking more frightened than anyone Kira had ever seen. Councillor Vess, the eldest, gestured for Kira to approach. "Can you tell us anything about the vessel?" Vess asked. His voice shook. "It's large," Kira said, "maybe 3 kilometers long. The design suggests advanced metallurgy and engineering far beyond our capabilities. The way it entered orbit and disabled our systems. They have technology we can't even comprehend. Can we communicate with them?" another councillor asked. "We don't even know if they communicate," Kira said. "We don't know anything about them. As if in response to her words, every screen in the chamber flickered to life. The same image appeared on all of them simultaneously. Static cleared, revealing a symbol, angular, sharp, aggressive. Then sounds emerged, not words Kira recognized, but clearly structured. A language the transmission repeated. The same symbol. The same sounds. They're trying to contact us, Thren whispered. Counselor Vess stood, his scales pale and trembling. What do they want? No one had an answer. The transmission continued on loop. The symbol burned into Kira's mind. Above their world, the massive warship waited in silence. Kira stared at the screen and realized something that made her blood run cold. This wasn't a question anymore of whether they were alone in the universe. The question now was much simpler and much more terrifying. What did the visitors want with Velas Prime? And would the Velassi survive finding out the answer? 300 light-years away, the Galactic Council chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives from 40 different species shouted over each other, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of panic. Ambassador Quellen of the Hive Collective raised all 4 of his arms for silence. The humans have made contact with an unregistered species, Quellen announced. His translator device struggled to convey the urgency in his clicking speech. The Velassi of Velas Prime, a species that has never left their own planet. A wave of horrified silence spread through the chamber. Did the humans attack? Someone asked. Not yet, Quellen said. They're attempting communication, but we all know what happens next. Ambassador Trell of the Sontar Confederacy stood. Her 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep distress among her people. We must warn the Velassi. They don't know what humans are capable of. It's too late, Quellen said. By the time any of our ships arrive, first contact will be complete. The Velassi's fate is already decided. The chamber filled with murmurs. Every species present remembered their own first encounter with humanity. The scars, both physical and psychological, still remained fresh. The Sontar had met humans first 20 cycles ago. They had been exploring a distant system when they encountered a small human vessel. The Sontar ship was larger, better armed, more advanced. They had demanded the humans surrender and leave Sontar space. The humans had smiled. Then they had disabled the Sontar warship in under 3 minutes. They didn't destroy us, Ambassador Trell said quietly, as if reading the room's thoughts. That's what made it worse. They could have, but they chose not to. They just wanted us to know they could. Other species had similar stories. The Brentari had tried to establish dominance through a show of force. The humans had outmaneuvered them so completely that Brentari tactical academies still studied the battle in shame. The Zealous had attempted to test human diplomatic resolve. The human negotiator had smiled pleasantly, while systematically dismantling every Zealous argument, revealing secrets about Zealous culture that shouldn't have been possible for an outsider to know. Humans were terrifying, not because they were the strongest, or the smartest, or the fastest. They were terrifying because they were all of those things when they needed to be. What world creates such creatures? Ambassador Trell asked, though everyone knew the answer. Earth. A death world by any reasonable definition. Gravity that would crush most species. Weather patterns that swung from burning heat to deadly cold. Predators that hunted in packs. Diseases that evolved as fast as cures could be found. Geological instability. Asteroid impacts. Ice ages. Humans had survived all of it. More than survived, they had thrived. They had climbed to the top of their planet's food chain through sheer stubbornness and innovation. They were persistence hunters, a rare and frightening evolutionary path. They couldn't outrun their prey, so they had learned to simply never stop chasing. They would track an animal for days, weeks even, until it collapsed from exhaustion. And now they applied that same relentless nature to everything they did. There's something else, Quellen said. He activated a holographic display. We've been monitoring human communication networks. They're excited about the Velassi. The chamber watched recordings of human news broadcasts, human faces filled with wonder and curiosity as they discussed the new species, children's drawings of what Velassi might look like, scientists eagerly debating Velassi biology and culture, based on the limited information available. They're not preparing for conquest, Ambassador Trell said slowly. They're preparing for friendship. That's worse, Quellen replied. When humans befriend a species, they become protective, possessive even. And when something threatens a species humanity has claimed as friend, he didn't need to finish. Everyone present had heard the stories. The Kresh Empire had made the mistake of attacking a human colony world. The colony was small, barely defended, and fell quickly. The Kresh thought they had won. They were wrong. Humanity's response had been swift and absolute. Not just military action, but cultural, economic, and political warfare on every front. Within a standard year, the Kresh Empire had collapsed entirely. Not destroyed, humanity had been careful about that. Just reduced so completely that they would never threaten anyone again. The Kresh representatives no longer attended council meetings. They didn't have the resources to maintain their seat. Back on Velas Prime, Kira worked frantically at her terminal. She had been given one task by the council: decode the alien message. 3 days had passed since the ship's arrival. 3 days of fear and uncertainty. The message was mathematical. That much she had determined. The sequence of sounds corresponded to prime numbers, universal constants, basic geometric principles. The aliens were trying to establish common ground, a foundation for communication. But why? What did they want? Kira had barely slept. Her scales had lost their luster, turning dull and gray. Thren brought her food that she forgot to eat. Other scholars offered help, but Kira couldn't seem to delegate. This felt too important, too dangerous to trust to anyone else. "I think I have it," she said on the third night. Her voice was hoarse from exhaustion. The council assembled immediately. Kira displayed her work on the main screen. "The message isn't a threat. It's a request. They're asking for peaceful dialogue. They want to meet us." Counselor Velas shook his head. "How can we trust that? We know nothing about them." "We know they haven't attacked," Kira said. "They've had 3 days. If they wanted to destroy us, we'd already be dead." "Maybe they're studying us first," another counselor suggested. "Learning our weaknesses before they strike." Kira had no answer for that. It was possible. Everything was possible when dealing with an unknown species. A junior technician burst into the chamber. "Counselors! The ship is launching something. A small craft. It's heading toward the surface." Every scale in the room turned pale. "Sound the alarms," Velas ordered. "Evacuate the capital. Deploy every defense we have, sir," the technician said quietly. "Our defenses fired automatically when the craft entered our atmosphere. The weapons hit their target." Hope flickered in Ves's eyes. "Did we destroy it?" "No, sir. The projectiles. They just bounced off. The craft didn't even slow down. It's still coming." The hope died. Kira felt her legs weaken. Whatever these aliens were, they had technology so advanced that the Velasi's best weapons were meaningless against them. The craft was landing in the capital's main plaza. Whether the Velasi wanted first contact or not, it was happening now. The shuttle touched down in the plaza with barely a whisper of sound. Kira stood with the council delegation, her scales cycling through colors she couldn't control. Purple fear, gray uncertainty, brief flashes of blue curiosity. Around them, Velasi military personnel formed a protective circle, though their weapons seemed pitifully small now. The shuttle was smaller than Kira had expected, maybe 10 meters long, sleek and silver. A door hissed open, releasing a cloud of vapor into the Velasi atmosphere. Kira held her breath. 3 figures emerged. They were small. That was Kira's first thought. Smaller than any Velasi adult, standing perhaps 1.5 meters tall. They had no scales, no tail, no protective features at all. Their skin was smooth and varied in color: pink, brown, tan. They wore uniforms of dark blue material that covered most of their bodies, but it was their eyes that caught Kira's attention. They were forward-facing. Predator eyes. Hunter's eyes. The lead figure removed something from its head. A helmet, Kira realized. Short, dark hair emerged. The creature was female, Kira guessed, based on body structure. The alien smiled, showing flat teeth except for slightly pointed canines. "Hello," the alien said through a device on her collar. The words came out in perfect Velasi. "My name is Captain Marcus Webb. We come in peace from the planet Earth." Kira blinked. The translator was flawless. The aliens had learned their entire language in 3 days. Counselor Velas stepped forward, his scales carefully controlled to show neutral gray. "I am Counselor Velas of the Velasi High Council. Why have you come to our world?" The alien who had introduced himself as Captain Webb, though the body suggested female to Kira's eyes, smiled wider. "Exploration, discovery, to meet new friends. Your world appeared on our long-range scans. We've been hoping to find other intelligent life for a very long time. You disabled our technology, Vess said. You demonstrated your power over us. The alien's smile faded. That was an unintended side effect of our FTL drive. We didn't know it would affect your systems. I apologize. Our engineers are working on a way to shield your technology from interference. An apology. Kira felt her scales flicker with confusion. She had expected threats, demands, shows of dominance, not an apology. One of the other aliens stepped forward. This one was definitely female, with longer hair pulled back from her face. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm a xenobiologist. I've been studying your world from orbit, and I have so many questions. Your bioluminescent communication is fascinating. The way your scales change color, is it emotional? Linguistic, both? Kira found herself answering before she could stop. Both. Emotional responses trigger automatic color changes, but we can also control them consciously to convey specific meanings. Dr. Chen's eyes lit up with excitement. Real, genuine excitement. That's incredible. A dual-layer communication system. Do you find that the automatic responses ever conflict with what you're trying to communicate consciously? Yes, Kira said, warming to the topic despite herself. Children have to learn control as they grow. It's considered rude to let your emotions show too clearly in formal settings. Like humans blushing, Dr. Chen said. We have a similar issue. Blood rushes to our faces when we're embarrassed, and we can't control it. Kira stared at the alien. Was that what the pink color meant? Increased blood flow? These creatures pumped fluid through their bodies using pressure. The biological implications were fascinating. Scholar Kira, Vess said sharply. Remember yourself. Kira's scales flushed with the purple of embarrassment. She had been fraternizing with the aliens, making casual conversation as if this were a normal academic conference, not a potential invasion. Captain Webb seemed to sense the tension. Perhaps we've started off too casually. Let me be clear about our intentions. Earth represents the united humanity of nations. We explore space to learn and to establish friendly relationships with other species. We have no interest in conquest, colonization, or control of your world. Then why is your ship a warship? Vess demanded. We may be primitive by your standards, but we recognize weapons when we see them. Space is dangerous, Webb said simply. There are hostile species out there. Pirates, raiders, worse things. We need to protect ourselves and anyone traveling with us. But those weapons have never been aimed at Velas Prime, and they never will be. Thren whispered to Kira. Can we believe them? Kira didn't know. But something Dr. Chen had said stuck with her. The xenobiologist's enthusiasm had seemed real, not calculated or false. Just pure scientific excitement. We've brought gifts, the third human said. This one was male, tall and thin. Cultural items from Earth. Food, music, art. Things to help us understand each other. The humans opened containers, revealing strange objects. Kira saw something that looked like dried plant matter wrapped in colorful paper. Another container held small discs that the humans explained contained recorded music. A third held printed images, photographs they called them, of Earth landscapes. Dr. Chen approached Kira directly, holding something in her hands. This is chocolate. It's a food we make from plants that grow near our equator. It's considered a luxury item. I thought, maybe we could share food, as a sign of trust? Kira looked at Counselor Vess. The old Velasi looked torn between caution and curiosity. Finally, he nodded. Dr. Chen broke the chocolate into pieces. She took one and ate it, demonstrating that it wasn't poison. Then she offered a piece to Kira. Kira took it with trembling claws. The substance was brown and smelled strange but not unpleasant. She placed it in her mouth. Sweetness exploded across her tongue. Complex flavors she had never experienced before. Her scales flushed bright yellow with pleasure before she could control them. Dr. Chen laughed. You like it, Kira did. Against all reason, against all caution, she liked this strange alien food. Would you like to try Velasi fruit? Kira asked. The words came out before she could stop them. I would love to, Dr. Chen said. The tension in the plaza began to ease. Not completely. The Velasi military still maintained their positions, and Kira noticed that Captain Webb's hand never strayed far from a weapon on his belt, but enough that conversation became possible. They talked for hours. Dr. Chen asked questions about Velasi biology, culture, history. Kira found herself answering, then asking her own questions about humans. The other counselors slowly joined in, their natural curiosity overcoming their fear. Kira learned that humans had no natural armor, no claws, no protective scales. They were soft and vulnerable. Yet they had conquered their world through intelligence and tool use. They were omnivores, eating both plants and meat. They were social creatures who formed strong bonds with their groups. They sounded almost harmless when Dr. Chen described them. Then the alarms began to wail. Captain Webb's hand went to his weapon immediately. The relaxed atmosphere vanished. What's happening? A Velas technician ran into the plaza. Counselors! Long-range sensors have detected multiple ships entering the system. Unknown configuration. They're heading straight for us. Webb pulled out a device and spoke into it rapidly. Kira heard the tone of his voice change completely. The friendly explorer was gone. Something else had taken his place. How many ships? Webb asked. 12, the technician said. Webb's face, which had been open and friendly moments ago, became hard and cold. He looked at Vess. Counselor, do you have any enemies? Anyone who might want to attack your world? No, Vess said. We've never encountered anyone before you. Then they're here because we're here, Webb said grimly. He looked up at the sky where his larger ship waited. They saw us arrive. They're coming to claim what they think is an easy target. Kira felt her scales go pale. Who are they? Dr. Chen answered, and her voice was sad. Probably Kresh. They're slavers. They look for species that haven't developed space travel yet. Species without defenses, what do we do? Vess asked. Captain Webb looked at the counselor, then at Kira, then at all the Velas watching them. Something shifted in his expression. A decision was made. We protect you, Webb said. That's what we do. The Kresh had been watching Velas Prime for 6 cycles. They had cataloged the population, mapped the cities, and assessed the technology level. The Velas were perfect targets, intelligent enough to make useful slaves, but too primitive to defend themselves. The arrival of the human ship had complicated things. Kresh Commander Throck studied the data on his screen. 1 human vessel, moderately sized. Well-armed, but alone. Humans were known to be dangerous, but surely one ship wouldn't risk itself for a species they had just met. Maintain course, Throck ordered. The human will leave rather than fight 12 Kresh warships for strangers. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Marcus Webb stood with his arms crossed, staring at the tactical display. 12 red dots approached their position. His crew worked quietly around him, running calculations and preparing systems. Captain, his first officer said, they'll be in weapons range in 18 hours. We could jump to FTL now, be light years away before they arrive. I know, Webb said. Sir, with respect, we can't fight 12 Kresh warships alone. The mission protocols are clear. When facing overwhelming force, preservation of the ship takes priority. Webb looked at his officer. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, no relation to Dr. Chen despite the shared last name, was right. Every regulation said they should leave. One ship couldn't make a difference against a Kresh raiding fleet. Call a crew vote, Webb said. Sarah blinked. Sir? Emergency Protocol 7, Webb said. When a captain's order might result in the death of the entire crew, they have the right to vote on whether to follow that order. Call the vote. Sarah nodded slowly and activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the XO. Captain Webb has called for a vote under Emergency Protocol 7. The question is simple. Do we stay and defend Velas Prime or do we retreat to safety? You have 5 minutes to submit your votes. Webb waited. He knew what the regulations said. He knew the smart tactical choice. But he kept seeing Kira's face when she had tasted chocolate for the first time. That moment of pure joy. That innocent curiosity. The Velas reminded him of humans in a way. Not physically, but in their wonder at discovering they weren't alone. In their fear mixed with hope. They were people. Not statistics or strategic considerations, people. Captain, Sarah said. The votes are in. And? 342 crew members. 342 votes to stay. She paused. Sir, that includes me. I was wrong. We can't just leave them. Webb felt something tight in his chest loosen. Thank you, Sarah, all of you. Now let's figure out how we're going to survive this. Down on Velas Prime, Kira worked alongside Dr. Chen and a team of human engineers. They were installing shield generators at key points around the capital city. The technology was far beyond anything the Velas had, but the humans were patient teachers. Why are you helping us? Kira asked as she connected power cables under Dr. Chen's guidance. You barely know us. You could leave and be safe. Dr. Chen looked up from her work. Can I tell you about something from Earth history? Kira nodded. There's an old human saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. If we left you to the creche, we could survive. Our ship would be safe, but we'd know we abandoned innocent people to slavery and death. We'd have to live with that knowledge forever. So you're staying because of guilt? No, Dr. Chen said firmly. We're staying because it's right. Because you matter. Because when someone needs help and you can give it, you don't calculate the cost. You just help. Kira's scales shifted to confused purple. That's not logical. No, Dr. Chen agreed. But humans aren't always logical. We're emotional. We form attachments quickly. We've been here for 3 days and already I consider you a friend. Maybe that's stupid. Maybe it's dangerous. But that's how we are, a friend. The word resonated with Kira. She had been terrified of the humans. Now she was working beside one, preparing to face an enemy she didn't understand, protected by aliens who had no obligation to help. Captain Webb called a joint meeting in the Velas Council chamber. Counselor Vess and the other leaders sat on one side, Webb and his officers on the other. Kira was there as a technical advisor and translator. Here's the situation, Webb said, pulling up a tactical display. The creche have 12 ships. We have one. In a straight fight, we lose. So we don't fight straight. What do you mean? Vess asked. Humans have been fighting overwhelming odds since before we had space travel, Webb explained. We learned to use terrain, psychology, and unpredictability. The creche expect us to either run or fight conventionally. We're going to do neither. He outlined his plan. The Indomitable would position itself between the creche fleet and Velas Prime. They would use the planet's gravity well to their advantage, forcing the creche to fight in close quarters where numbers mattered less. The Velasi orbital platforms would be retrofitted with human weapons. The humans would also deploy a network of mine and automated defense drones. But most importantly, Webb said, we're going to make them think we're crazy. You are crazy, Thren muttered. Kira's scales flashed with nervous orange. Webb grinned. It wasn't a nice expression. Exactly. Humans have a reputation in the galaxy. We're unpredictable. We do things that don't make tactical sense. We take risks that no sane species would take. The creche know this. We're going to use their fear against them. Over the next 18 hours, the humans worked without sleep. Kira watched them move with efficient purpose, never wasting motion. They sang strange songs while they worked. They made jokes even though death was coming. Dr. Chen explained it was a human coping mechanism, humor in the face of fear. Aren't you terrified? Kira asked. Yes, Dr. Chen admitted. I'm terrified. My hands are shaking. But I can't let the fear stop me. None of us can. So we make jokes. We sing songs. We remind ourselves what we're fighting for. What are you fighting for? Dr. Chen looked at Kira. You, your people, your children, your future. The right for the Velasi to exist as free beings. Kira's scales cycled through a dozen colors. She couldn't process the depth of sacrifice these aliens were making. They had known the Velasi for 3 days. 3 days, and they were willing to die for them. The creche fleet arrived right on schedule. 12 massive warships, each one larger than the Indomitable. They formed a standard attack pattern and broadcast a message. Human vessel, you are in creche territorial space. Withdraw or be destroyed. Captain Webb broadcast his response on all channels, including the ones he knew the Velasi were monitoring. This is Captain Marcus Webb of the United Humanity of Nations ship Indomitable. Velas Prime is under Earth's protection. Any hostile action will be met with extreme force. Leave now. Throck laughed when he heard the message. One ship threatens 12? These humans are insane. Perhaps we should withdraw, his second officer suggested nervously. The stories about human are just stories, Throck snapped. Stories told by species too weak to fight them properly. We are creche. We fear nothing. He opened a channel to the human ship. You have one final chance to retreat. Webb's response was immediate. You first. Kira watched from the surface as the battle began. She couldn't see the ships with her eyes, but the orbital cameras showed everything. The creche fleet advanced in formation. The Indomitable hung in space, alone and impossibly small against the approaching force. Then the human ship moved. It didn't retreat. It didn't hold position. It accelerated directly toward the Kresh fleet. "They're attacking," Thren whispered in disbelief. "They're actually attacking." The Indomitable dove into the Kresh formation like a knife. It fired weapons Kira had never seen before, beams of pure light that cut through Kresh shields, missiles that twisted and turned to avoid defenses, projectiles that moved at a significant fraction of light speed. But more than the weapons, it was the flying. The Indomitable moved like nothing Kira had ever seen. It rolled, spun, and danced through space, never where the Kresh expected it to be. It used the debris from damaged Kresh ships as cover. It flew so close to one Kresh vessel that the enemy couldn't fire without hitting their own ship. "It's not just fighting," Dr. Chen said softly beside Kira. "It's hunting." And it was. The Indomitable wasn't trying to destroy the Kresh fleet. It was harrying them, confusing them, making them afraid. Every time the Kresh tried to form up, the human ship broke their formation. Every time they thought they had it cornered, it would slip away. But 12 against 1 was still 12 against 1. Slowly, the Indomitable began to take damage. Its shields flickered. Hull breaches appeared. The ship was dying. Kira felt her scales turn the gray-white of grief. The humans were going to die defending people they barely knew. She wanted to scream, to tell them to run, to save themselves. Then space itself seemed to tear open. One new ship appeared. Then another. Then 5 more. Then a dozen. Human vessels dropped out of FTL like a school of predators responding to a distress call. A massive ship appeared last, easily twice the size of any Kresh vessel. Its hull displayed a name, UHNS Battlegroup 7 Command Ship Invincible. A new voice came over the communications, calm, cold, absolutely certain. "This is Admiral Chen of the United Humanity Navy. You have attacked a human vessel and threatened a species under our protection. You have one chance to surrender." The Kresh fleet broke. They scattered in all directions, jumping to FTL without coordination or formation. Pure panic. The human battle group let them go. They weren't interested in slaughter, just protection. Kira stood on the surface of Velas Prime and watched her world's second sunrise. The human fleet hung in orbit like guardian angels. The Indomitable was being repaired. Captain Webb and his crew would survive. Dr. Chen stood beside her, looking up at the stars. "You saved us," Kira said. "We protected you," Dr. Chen corrected. "That's what friends do." 6 months had passed since the battle. The Galactic Council chamber looked different now. A new seat had been added, carved from Velasi crystal and placed beside the human delegation. Kira sat in that seat, her scales displaying the formal blue-green of diplomatic pride. She listened as Ambassador Quellen addressed the assembly. The Hive collective representative who had once feared humanity now spoke with grudging respect. The Council formally recognizes Velas Prime as a sovereign member of the galactic community, Quellen announced. Sponsored by the United Humanity of Nations, the Velasi people take their place among the stars. Applause rippled through the chamber in various forms. Clicks, whistles, harmonic tones, and human clapping. Kira felt her scales shift to warm yellow. She was the first Velasi to leave her homeworld, the first to speak for her people on the galactic stage. It felt impossible. 6 months ago, she had been a teacher pointing at old star charts. Now she represented her entire civilization. After the ceremony, Kira walked through the station's observation deck. Earth's ambassador, a kind older woman named Ambassador Flores, joined her. "Nervous about the speech tomorrow?" Flores asked. "Terrified," Kira admitted. "I'll be addressing the council about the Joint Exploration Initiative." "What if they reject it?" "They won't," Flores said confidently. "You've become quite the diplomat, Kira. The council respects you." Kira's scales flickered with doubt. "They respect what humanity did for us. I'm just the one who speaks." "No," Flores said firmly. "You're the one who had the courage to taste chocolate when you thought humans might be monsters. You're the one who worked beside Dr. Chen to prepare defenses instead of hiding. You earned their respect yourself." The memory made Kira's scales shift to soft yellow. Dr. Chen had returned to Earth after the battle, but they communicated regularly. The xenobiologist was writing a book about Velasi culture and language. She sent Kira drafts to review, always excited, always curious. "Can I ask you something?" Kira said. "Why did Captain Webb really stay? I understand the words about it being the right thing, but he risked his entire crew. 300 lives for people he didn't know." Flores was quiet for a moment. "Let me tell you about Earth. Our planet tried very hard to kill us for millions of years. Ice ages, predators, diseases, natural disasters. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. We survived because we learned to protect each other, to form groups, to care for those who couldn't care for themselves. That's just evolution, Kira said. Pack bonding. Many species have it. True, Flores agreed. But humans took it further. We domesticated other species, wolves, cats, horses. We formed bonds with creatures that had no evolutionary reason to bond with us. We cared for injured animals even when they provided no benefit. We still do. On Earth right now, there are thousands of humans dedicating their lives to protecting species that aren't even sentient. Kira's scales flickered with confused purple. Why? Because they matter, Flores said simply. Because something doesn't need to benefit us to deserve protection. When Captain Webb saw the Velas, saw you. He didn't calculate strategic value. He saw people who needed help. And humans can't just walk away from that. Even if it means dying? Even then, Flores said. That's humanity's gift and our curse. We care too much. We form attachments too quickly. We see someone in trouble and we can't help but try to save them. Kira thought about this. On Velas Prime, the humans had become legends. Children drew pictures of the indomitable fighting the Kresh. The Council had built a monument to humanity's sacrifice. But more than that, something had changed in how the Velas saw the universe. They weren't alone anymore. And not being alone meant having friends. Having friends meant having people worth protecting. The next day, Kira delivered her speech to the Council. She proposed a joint exploration initiative. Human ships with Velas scientists exploring the uncharted regions of space together. Learning from each other. Protecting each other. The vote was unanimous. 3 months later, Kira stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Unity. It was a joint design. Human engineering with Velas aesthetics. The crew was mixed, 20 humans and 15 Velas working side by side. Dr. Chen served as the chief science officer. Captain Webb, fully recovered from his injuries, commanded the vessel. Kira held the position of first contact specialist, using what she had learned from both species to prepare for encounters with others. First jump coordinates locked in, the navigator announced, a human named Lieutenant Park, who had taught Kira how to play chess during the long voyage preparations. All systems ready, reported Thren, who had overcome his fear of humans enough to join the mission. Crew, this is Captain Webb, the familiar voice came over the speakers. Today we make history, not just human history or Velas history, but the history of what we can accomplish together. We're explorers now, all of us. Whatever we find out there, we'll face it as friends. Kira felt her scales shift to bright yellow. Friends. The word still felt new but right. Engage FTL drive, Webb ordered. Space twisted around them. Stars stretched into lines. The Unity jumped into the unknown. In the common room that evening, Kira found Dr. Chen looking at a display showing their progress. They were further from both Earth and Velas Prime than any human or Velas had ever been. Nervous? Kira asked. Excited, Dr. Chen corrected. There's so much out there to discover. So many species we haven't met. So many worlds we haven't seen. Some of them might be hostile, Kira pointed out. Probably, Dr. Chen agreed. But we'll handle it. Together. Kira settled beside her friend, and yes, she thought of Dr. Chen as a friend now without hesitation. I've been thinking about what Ambassador Flores told me. About humans forming bonds too quickly. It's true, Dr. Chen said. We adopt stray cats. We name our cars. We apologize to furniture when we bump into it. We're ridiculous. I like it, Kira said. Her scales were soft blue, the color of contentment.
Velas are more cautious.
We take time to trust, but maybe we could learn from humans. Maybe both our species could be better by learning from each other. That's the idea, Dr. Chen said. That's why we're here. Not to change each other, but to grow together. An alarm chimed softly. Lieutenant Park's voice came through. Dr. Chen, Kira, you might want to come to the bridge. We're picking up something unusual. They hurried to the bridge. The main screen showed a planet unlike any Kira had seen. Purple oceans, gold continents. 3 moons hanging in a pink sky. Life signs? Webb asked. Positive, Thren reported. Complex organisms. Possibly sentient. Structures? Kira asked. Yes, the sensor officer confirmed. Cities, technology. They're at roughly the same development level as the Velassi were 6 months ago. Webb looked at Kira. Your call. Do we make contact? Kira felt the weight of the decision. Another species, unaware they weren't alone, about to have their universe change forever. She knew that fear, that wonder, that terror mixed with hope. Yes, Kira said. But we do it carefully. We do it right. We approach with respect and patience. We show them they have nothing to fear. Agreed, Webb said. He turned to his crew. Prepare first contact protocols. And someone get ready to send the prime number sequence. Dr. Chen touched Kira's arm. You ready for this? Kira's scales shifted through a dozen colors. Fear, excitement, determination, hope. All the emotions mixing together into something new. I'm ready. We're ready. The Unity adjusted its course toward the planet. On the surface below, in an observatory not so different from the one where Kira had once taught, someone was about to look up and see a ship in their sky. Their world was about to change. But this time Kira knew the change would be different. Because this time, the visitors understood what it meant to be frightened and alone. They understood because they had been there. Both species had stood in that moment of terror and wonder, and they had found each other. Captain, Kira said. Send the message. Webb nodded. The Unity broadcast the prime number sequence, the universal language of mathematics. Hello, it said. We come in peace. We're explorers like you. We're friends you haven't met yet. Kira watched the planet grow larger on the screen. Somewhere down there, someone was receiving the message. Someone was making the same choice she had made. To be afraid, yes, but also to be curious. To take that first step toward something unknown. And if they did, if they accepted the offered hand of friendship, they would learn what Kira had learned. That the universe was vast and dangerous, yes. But it was also full of people willing to protect those who needed protection. Full of species willing to stand together against the darkness. The galaxy had thought the Velassi were alone. Humanity had proven them wrong. Now, together, they would make sure no species ever had to feel that isolation again. Dr. Chen squeezed Kira's hand, a human gesture Kira had learned. Kira's scales flashed warm yellow in response, a Velassi gesture Dr. Chen had learned. Different species. Different worlds. But the same hope, the same curiosity, the same fundamental desire to reach out and connect. The Unity waited for a response. And below, in an observatory on a world that had never known aliens existed, someone froze mid-sentence as their instruments detected something impossible. A ship above their world. The cycle began again. But this time there would be friends waiting to say hello. This time they wouldn't be alone.